Summary of The Great Gatsby by F.Scott Fitzgerald. Nick Carraway goes to New York from Minnesota in the summer of 1922 to work as a bond salesman. Nick rents a house in West Egg, which is a neighborhood of New York City on Long Island. West Egg is full of new rich people who just got rich and haven't had time to make many friends yet. Nick went to Yale and knows people in East Egg, which is a town where people with old money and social ties live. Nick goes to East Egg one night to have dinner with his cousin Daisy and her Yale student husband Tom Buchanan. There, he meets Jordan Baker, a gorgeous and jaded pro golfer. Nick hears from Jordan that Tom is seeing someone else. Nick sees his mystery neighbor Jay Gatsby holding out his arms toward the Long Island Sound when he gets home from dinner. Nick looks across the water, but all he can see is a flashing green light at the end of a dock on the other side. Tom asks Nick to a party in New York City a few days later. On the way, Tom picks up his lover, Myrtle Wilson, who is married to George Wilson, who owns an auto shop in the Valley of Ashes, which is an industrial area between West Egg and New York City. Myrtle gets drunk at the party and makes fun of Daisy. Tom hits her and breaks her nose with a punch. Nick also goes to one of Gatsby's big parties on a Saturday night. He meets Jordan and Gatsby for the first time there. Jordan says that the story Gatsby tells her in secret is the most amazing thing she has ever heard. Nick meets with Jordan after having lunch with Gatsby and his shady business partner Meyer Wolfsheim. Jordan tells Nick the amazing story. Before World War I, Gatsby met Daisy and fell in love with her. He bought his West Egg house just to be close to her and please her. Nick sets up a meeting between Gatsby and Daisy because Gatsby asked him to. Soon, they fall in love again. Daisy tells Nick and Gatsby that she, Tom, and Jordan will be having lunch with them. During lunch, Tom finds out that Daisy and Gatsby are going out together. He wants them all to go to New York. But as soon as they get together at the Plaza Hotel, Tom and Gatsby fight about Daisy. Gatsby tells Tom that Daisy has only ever loved him and never him. Gatsby is shocked when Daisy only says that she loves them both. Tom then says that Gatsby got rich by smuggling drink and doing other things that were against the law. Tom tells Daisy to go home with Gatsby in a careless way because he knows Gatsby won't bother her anymore. Gatsby drives them away, and Tom, Nick, and Jordan catch up with them later. Tom, Nick, and Jordan are driving home when they come across an accident. A car has hit and killed Myrtle. Tom figures out that Gatsby's car must have hit Myrtle, so he calls Gatsby a fool for driving away. Nick finds out later that night from Gatsby that Daisy was actually driving. George Wilson is upset because he thinks that the person who was driving the yellow car that hit Myrtle is also her lover. Nick and Jordan get into a fight on the phone while Nick is at work. Nick has a kind of foreboding in the afternoon and finds Gatsby dead in his pool. The dead body of Wilson is just a few yards away. Nick puts together a funeral, but none of Gatsby's claimed friends show up. Gatsby's father and one other man are the only ones who come. Nick and Jordan are no longer together. Soon after, Nick sees Tom again and finds out that Tom told Wilson that Gatsby ran over Myrtle. Nick doesn't let Tom know that Daisy was driving. Nick goes back to Minnesota because he doesn't like how crooked and empty life is on the East Coast. But the night before he leaves, he goes to Gatsby's beach and looks out over Long Island Sound. He thinks about Gatsby and thinks that he is like the first people who came to America. Nick explains that everyone, much like Gatsby, needs to keep moving ahead with their arms held out toward the future, just like boats moving upstream against the tide of the past.
About the author. F.Scott Fitzgerald grew up in Minnesota, went to a few private schools, where he didn't do very well, and then went to Princeton University. In 1917, Princeton warned Fitzgerald about his work. He signed up for the Army. In 1918, he met Zelda Sayer at a base in Alabama. He fell in love with her. In 1920, when his first book, This Side of Paradise, came out, Fitzgerald became a big name in literature. He married Zelda 1 week later. In 1924, Fitzgerald and his wife went to Paris, where he started writing The Great Gatsby. Even though it is now thought of as his best work, the book didn't sell very well. In 1927, they moved back to the United States. Fitzgerald wrote a few more books, such as Tender is the Night in 1933, but none of them were as popular as his first. The Fitzgeralds were in a lot of debt because of how well they lived, so they started drinking and getting sick. In 1940, Fitzgerald died of a heart attack.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.